ladies and gentlemen, I present you to the royalty, at least according to Pop Sugar, who has crowned Andrew Walker the king of Hallmark. Certainly, he is the male lead who has starred in the most number of movies, in a total of 21 and counting, plus another few ones for other similar rival networks like Lifetime. Now he's getting ready for his own mystery series, a curious catheter mystery with Nikki DeLoach, another Hallmark's very familiar face. He started acting young, but he didn't become a full-time actor until he was forced to leave his football career due to a grave injury. He's married and he is the father of 2 little boys. He's a Canadian who spends a lot of time working in Canada. Still, he calls California home, where he owns a juice company along with his wife. If you are not a Hallmark fan, you may know his jawline and his angular features from other very dramatic or violent roles, or from TV shows like CSI, Without a Trace, Big Bang Theory, and further in time in Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, our Sabrina, the happy one, not the Berlanti's dark Sabrina. We celebrate our 50th episode with him, Mr. Andrew Walker. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you so much for being here. I am really, really honored.
Thank you so much for having me, Raquel. That is, it's too nice of an intro. I so appreciate it. And I feel honored to be on your 50th episode. Congratulations to you for making it to 50. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I would like to ask you about your next projects, Hallmark or not Hallmark. And after candy canes, sweet shops, bakeries, it's time for chocolate. Tell us something about that first movie of your own, mystery series, Dying for Chocolate.
Yes, yeah. Well, I know, geez, I feel like I've gone through all the sugar food groups, you know, with my holiday movies. But this latest one is not a holiday movie. It is a suspense thriller Hallmark film. And what I loved about shooting this film was it was unlike any other Hallmark film that I've ever been a part of. And really, I think, you know, seeing and having a lot of friends that are on other Hallmark mystery movies, like Murder, She Baked and 101 Mystery or Mystery 101. I have a lot of peers and friends that have been on these movies, and this one is very different. They're allowing us now, and this is just the whole changing of the guard of Hallmark, because they've, in the past 2 years, they've made a lot of new hires. They've let go of some people in the past and that have been there for a long time. And they did a great job. You know, they took Hallmark to where it is today and really grew that network exponentially. But now we're able to really dive into the darker side of Hallmark, and more suspense and more thriller and there's more, and with comedies as well, we're able to do a little bit more, you know, we're able to kind of push the comedy a little bit more. So with this newest movie called, it's part of the Curious Caterer Mystery Series. There's 18 novels. So if we have a good turnout on this film and people enjoy the film and we get some good reviews, then we'll be able to potentially do all 18 books for you guys. So, but this is the first novel called Dying for Chocolate. And it is nonstop from the very beginning of when the movie starts. You are hooked until the movie ends, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I love that about shooting this movie and how they really emphasized the suspense aspect of this movie. So, and I do feel like the executive over at Hallmark, she kind of stepped out of her comfort zone with this and allowed myself and Nikki to collaborate with her and bring our thoughts to the table. And the director that we worked with on this movie, his name was Anthony Mecci. Tony is what we call him. And Tony was instrumental in putting together this movie. He shot the movie like a feature film. So when we shoot these movies, they're only 15-day shoots. And as you can imagine, we have to pack so much into our days because there's not a lot of time to really develop or to do a scene. You know, we don't get 10 takes or 15 takes in these movies. They're very quick takes. And what we essentially do is we break them up into meals and and bites, little appetizers, and the meals will save more time to shoot the bigger parts of the movie, or the more story development aspects of the movie. And so with this movie, Tony shot, he took so many different angles, so many different takes, but we were kind of shooting them pretty quickly, and then he would give us time for the real crucial scenes to really spend time on those, and give our more emotional performances, and let Nikki and I, he'd always make sure that Nikki and I were okay moving along. But anyways, this movie, I think, is going to be it's a very interesting film, and a very outside of the box norm film for the Hallmark world.
In your future movie with Candace Cameron Bure, given that you are her grandma's dream co-star, you did work with her on-screen sister, though, with Jodie Sweetin. But
I did, yeah.
You are the king and she is the queen, and you never worked together.
Well, I mean, I think titles, I don't know. There's a lot of kings in Hallmark. There's a lot of guys, and they're all doing, I think they all have their own aspect of what they bring to the table, and their own strengths and stuff, and I like to say, my son, he rates his friends. He's like, Jonah's my best friend, and this guy's my second best friend. And I was like, buddy, no, you got to look at friends like he looks at superheroes. They all, when they combine their forces, they all make the strongest entity, So I think what Hallmark has done so well is they've combined all these different personalities of guys, and they put them all on the same network, and then we're all able to elevate the network as a whole. And so to go back to Candace, though, Candace, I would love to work with Candace. I feel like it's going to come sooner than later. I feel like we will be working together on a holiday film, and I think probably a Christmas movie would be a one we would work together on. But I kind of leave it up to Candace at this point, and Hallmark, because I just I feel like I get given opportunities, and when the opportunities come, I assess, I go, okay, well, I think this might work. I feel like I'm passionate about this, but really Hallmark knows, they know what the fans are asking for. And I really feel like the fans are asking for Candace and I to do a Christmas movie. I just don't know if this year is going to be the year, or maybe next year, but I know it's in our near future. And I really want to work with her.
Is there someone you're willing work with? Not Candace, but somebody that you say, oh, I will die to work with, or her?
I've worked with most of the girls that I have had on my list, to be honest. Like, I've 21 movies later. I don't know. For me, I love working with new people as well. So I had a really great experience working with Amy Teagarden on our last film. And it was our Christmas film that we did, My Christmas Family Tree. And so she was somebody new that I had known of through Friday Night Lights. And I know Friday Night Lights, that TV show, had such a cult following, especially here in America, because, it's such a big American football culture. And I don't think it did the same numbers as it, obviously it's a, real Americana film, taken in Texas, and all about, like, what it is to be a high school football player in Texas, I'm sure it is to be a soccer player, or like a European football player in Spain or the UK. But the pressure, and the coach's pressure, and your peers. But Amy was incredible in that show, and so I was just looking forward to working with her. So I've worked with a lot of, I feel like I've worked with a lot of the girls I've wanted to work with, and I just can't wait to work with new people as well. So I don't know who that might be, but I'm looking forward to just meeting new people and having experiences with them on camera.
On the other side, Tyler Hines and you are very good friends. You are even related, if I'm not mistaken. And you made both that cameo last Christmas. That was a very, very special treat for all of us. How did you plan that cameos, and do you plan to collaborate again?
Yeah, it was nothing too tricky. We just basically, he was at my house. My wife and him are first cousins, and he was at our house. He comes every time he comes into Los Angeles. He lives in Toronto in Canada, and every time he comes to LA, we'll have him over to the house for a meal. He spends time with our kids and stuff like that. And my movie was airing that night, and we watched my movie together, and he's funny. He kind of like makes fun of me and things that I do and facial expressions and stuff, and I do the same thing to him. But we had kind of thought about it we had talked about it loosely, saying how fun it would be to do a cameo in each other's movies. Tyler's really the one that really wanted it to be small, because I had originally thought, well, maybe I could have like a little speaking role in your movie and you could have a little speaking role in my movie. But Tyler was like, no, it's even better if we just walk past camera and have people, and he's smart like that, maybe I'm always trying to steal more time on the camera. I don't know. But him and I were just sitting at my house watching my movie, and I just told him, I said, yeah, I'm leaving for Vancouver in 2 weeks. And he goes, you're going in 2 weeks? I said, and he said to me, he goes, I'm leaving in 2 weeks to go to Vancouver. And I was like, well, Tyler, this is our perfect chance. Let's try to get a cameo in each other's movies. And so we kept on talking about it, but it was difficult because we were just trying to find the right day to schedule. Because when you're there, you don't get a lot of time off. So, in the 15 days you're shooting. So we had to really push the production companies that we were working with, the individual production companies that we were working with, in order to try to really make it so that we could be in each other's films. And so we did it, and I think people were, I think it really people were excited when they saw us, and I think it
was awesome.
Really resonated with people.
Yeah, it was awesome for fans that are fans of both of you. It was amazing. So it was a very good idea, and we are very grateful.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful I was able to do it. It's great. It was fun.
Apart from playing fetch with a piglet, what are the funniest things that has happened to you while filming on or off screen?
Oh boy. Some funny stories. Because it's fresh. Because it's fresh in just actually recently this movie. Nikki is hilarious to work with. And this is my fourth movie doing with Nikki, shooting with Nikki DeLoach, and it always seems like Nikki will, in the middle of a scene, especially a scene where we're just about to have the scene where we confess our love to each other, or we're building the relationship, or she like walks in at the nearing the final end of the movie, and I notice her, and she's so beautiful in that moment, and she comes over to me, we have this big talk, and then we have the one kiss in the movie, the one Hallmark kiss. Every time I work with Nikki, she'll walk in, and then something will happen where she'll like trip over the skirt that she's wearing, or she'll like turn and hit her head on something, or fall down this flight of stairs. And so I always joke, because Nikki is such a klutz when it comes to, she's not a very smooth person when it comes to that type of stuff. She's very athletic, and she kind of like goes into things hard. So anyways, she and I always make fun of her about that, because that's some funny stuff that happens with Nikki. But I have a fresh story that just happened. I came off, I was getting dropped off on set this past job that I was doing in Vancouver. And I got out of my van, and one of the transport guys that's also kind of acting as security for our set, when I get out of the van, he points to me and he goes, "Hey, you're a rising star." And I said, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." I was about 9 days into shooting my movie, and I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you." In my head, I was like, that's kind of like I've done 21 of these movies. I'm not the rising star. If anything, I'm like an old man in these movies. You know, Tyler Hynes is the rising star. I'm not the rising star. So I go into set and I see a few people that I recognize, but it's not my set. And I'm looking around. I'm like, well, hey, Rob, what are you doing here? And Rob's like, what are you doing here? Are you doing another cameo? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing a cameo. What are you doing? This is my movie set. Isn't this our set? He goes, no, I think you might be on the wrong set, Andrew. This is the set of Rising Star. And so I, like a fool, I accept this compliment from this guy, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a rising star. I felt all good about myself, but the name of the movie was Rising Star, and it actually ended up being Tyler Hynes' movie that he was doing with Autumn Reeser. It was their set, and so I got dropped off on the wrong set. Took a compliment, felt all good about myself, and then I ended up having to call one of the assistant directors and say, hey, I'm on the wrong set. Can somebody pick me up and drive me to the next set?
Well, it was a good time for another cameo.
It was a good time. It was a good time for another cameo, but I think that we're just probably going to keep our cameos to Christmas movies.
Yeah,
I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially. We'll see.
Well,
There might be a chance. There might be another one.
It's
we'll
okay for us. It's very okay for us. In time of reboots and remakes, as an actor and a producer, what do you think about it? Is that there are no good stories anymore, or that we live in a nostalgic world? And did you watch the chilling adventures of Sabrina? What do you think?
I haven't watched the new remake of Sabrina. I've heard it was great. I auditioned for it. And I have a friend named Machen Amik who works on it. So I haven't seen it. I have to see it though. I have to see some episodes. In the era of remakes and reboots, I think, look, we've always been in an era of remakes and reboots in a way. And I think there's only 7 different stories that are really told, right? That's essentially what writers say. There's only there's only 7 different types of stories that can be told. It's just how you tell them that are different. And so I think people are always looking for new outside of the box. Like, I'm not really a Marvel guy. I'm not really into, like, as my kids get a little older, I know they're into superheroes. I'll watch a Spider-Man movie, but I'm not really into that type of movie. I do appreciate these indie films that are more story driven and unique stories that you haven't really heard before. But really, there's always like good versus evil, an obstacle that's being overcome by somebody. There's a love story depending on what the plot is. So I think, look, I don't. It's not like I'm turned. I am turned off by reboots and remakes. I do appreciate a unique story more than I do a story that's already been told 12 different ways or 10 different ways. I think the beauty of TV nowadays is that there's so many. These TV shows are little films. You look at what, like, for example, Queen's Gambit. The Queen's Gambit came out last year, and that took the world by storm. And it's also the power of Netflix. What's incredible, the power of Netflix. They said that chessboard sales went up, 1,000%, and online chess memberships went up 180%, and I think it was like 400%. And so there's, my son is into chess now. He heard me talking about chess last year, and so he does chess at his elementary school now. And so Queen's Gambit was a story that had never been told, but there was still a love story in there. There was still obstacles that she was overcoming, and chess was really the primary kind of obstacle that she was like trying to be the best chess player she could be. So I think there's a lot of people, a lot of producers, a lot of writers that are doing things that are being very creative in the stories they're telling nowadays. look, we're always going to get reboots. We're always going to get every 20 years, they're going to go back to a story. Like, you know, I grew up watching Goonies. You know, I remember that movie when it came out, and I know that they're probably going to do a new remake of the Goonies. Will it ever compare to the first one? I don't think it'll ever compare to the first one. I think there was a level of imagination and just authenticity in the not knowing what the movie was about, that you're discovering it with those characters. Because if you already know what the movie is, essentially, I mean, at least for me, my era, I'm 42 years old. So for my kids or for the younger generations, well, maybe they haven't seen the originals, you know, but I don't think the remakes and reboots will ever compare to the originals. That's my humble opinion.